Good morning, guys. My name is Jess Boyce. I'm with undergraduate admissions. I'm here with Dr. DeGraffenried and Hattie from the history department, and they're going to share with you more about their program. So Dr. DeGraffenried, take it away.
All right, great. I'm glad to see you guys, and good morning or good afternoon or whatever it is, wherever you are, since we're kind of in the middle of the day. My name is Dr. Julie DeGraffenried, and I'm an associate professor and the undergraduate program director of the Department of History at Baylor, which means I get to work with people like you. This is my 21st year at Baylor, and I'm a Baylor alum from about a zillion years ago. Well, because I'm old. So I'm really glad to have this opportunity to tell you a little bit about the Department of History at Baylor. We have a senior history major here, Hattie Krivesky, who is going to work the Q&A box during the presentation, and then she's available for questions at the end, just like I am. So I'm going to let Hattie introduce herself to you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Hattie Krivesky. I'm from Houston, Texas. So I'm a history major, but I also have an English minor and a world affairs minor. And I'm also involved in undergraduate mock trial and Phi Alpha Theta, which is our history honor society. So if y'all have any questions about being a history major, those activities, anything, just shoot me a chat along the way, or anything Dr. DeGraffenried talks about that you want answered.
Awesome. Thanks, Hattie. Perfect. All right, so I'm going to share my screen and we'll look at a little slideshow here. Here we go. Well, look, you're at Premiere. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about our department. We have 21 full-time faculty members, all PhDs. We have 5 faculty members who teach regularly for us, but hold what we call joint appointments or admin positions. Again, all PhDs. These are people like Dr. David Zori, who teaches in both history and anthropology because he is an archaeologist, right? So his field crosses over 2 departments. And then we have 3 part-time faculty members, but again, all PhDs. Our students, we have, as of yesterday, 149 majors in the history department, which is a great size. It's not teeny tiny where every class you take has the same students, but it's not gigantic where you never know anybody. You'll see some of the same people in your classes. We really like that. So we have a faculty to student ratio of about 5 to 1. And we have 108 history minors. So we have a lot of people who you'll be in class with if you're a history major, who are majors in other departments, but have just as keen an interest in history as you do. The history degree, we provide what we call a general history degree, meaning we want you to leave with sort of a well-rounded degree that exposes you to lots of different approaches and regions of the world once you're finished with us. So it's a 36-hour degree, which is pretty standard for majors across the university. There are 4 intro survey classes, 2 in world history, 2 in US history. If you are taking AP US, or if you're taking AP World or Euro, then you can get credit for those by scoring a certain thing on AP. Or if you're doing those classes dual credit, then that's where your dual credit would plug in into those intro survey classes. Every major has a required methods course called History Workshop, where we kind of make sure that everybody, all of our majors have this sort of shared language that everybody's familiar with as you move into junior and senior level courses. So it's things like knowing how to format a paper so that when you land in a senior level class, you're not saying, I don't know how to do this. Or talking just about how we write history. What are the different ways that history's been written over time? I'll tell you a little more about the career piece of that class in a minute. And then beyond the required methods course, we have 3 categories of classes. We have a US category, we have a global category, and a European category. And we ask you to choose within those categories any 2 that you're interested in. So you're super interested in, for example, East Asia. Then when you're doing globals, you might want to take classes with Dr. Barish, our historian of China, right? That's great. We want you to choose. We want to choose things that let you choose things that interest you. And then you get to take one more upper level course that's whatever you want. So again, you can follow your interests in that way. We do have a secondary ed concentration. We have usually between 10 and 20% of our majors are interested in teaching at the high school level. So we do have a concentration in secondary ed for anybody who's sort of coming into the program knowing that's what they want to do. So that major works with courses in the School of Education so that by the time you graduate, not only do you have the history major requirements done, but you also would have your everything prepared to be certified to teach high school. We also have we participate in a couple of 4+1 programs. So what a 4+1 program means is that in 5 years, right, 4+1, in 5 years, you end up with both a BA and a master's degree in something, okay? And so we have a BA MAT, which is a bachelor's in history and a Master of Arts in teaching. That's one of the programs, and that works with the School of Education. We also have a BA MST 4+1, which would mean in 5 years, you have a BA in history and then a master's in museum studies. Okay, and so if you're interested, I can tell you more about that. History is a major that works really, really great combined with other minors and other majors. So I just listed for you some of the common minors that I see often paired with history. So a lot of these are still in the College of Arts and Sciences. So for example, if you're interested in going to law school, I see lots and lots of history majors who have legal reasoning and analysis minors. If you're interested in military history, I often see history major, military studies minor. Like Hattie, see lots of English minors, right? Because lit and history work so well together, or writing and history work so well together. For people that are interested in politics, we see lots of double majoring in history and political science. But you could also be interested, for example, in being a history minor, but having a business administration minor, right? So in the business school, and that's possible as well. So it's a major that works really well in combination with lots of other things. About a quarter of our faculty have been involved in study abroad in the past 5 years. We love study abroad. If you're interested in study abroad, we want to help you figure out which trips are good for you. The trip to the Baylor in Argentina program was actually begun in the history department, as was the Baylor in Austria and the Baylor in Great Britain trip. We've had long-standing faculty relationships with the trip to Maastricht and St. Andrews. So there's all kinds of opportunities. Hattie, where are you going this summer?
I am going to Great Britain. So
Yes.
yeah, it's third time's the charm.
That's right. We're very excited that study abroad is up and running again. So we're going to be there together, which is why I put her on the spot. And we do have study abroad scholarships available to help make that possible. All right. So the big question everybody always wants to know is, what do history majors do after graduation? And you know, we were wondering this as well. So in 2018, so that's about 4 years ago now, we did a huge survey of our alums and we just asked them, what are you doing? Right? Because we kind of wanted to know. So what I'm giving you here is categories of things that our alums are doing. And I just give you like the top, I don't know, like 10 or 12 in the list. The answer was they're doing everything, right? History is a major that sets you up to do lots of different things. By the time you finish, you will be able to write well, you can research well, you can communicate well, you are good at being given a task and told to go do it, and you do. I mean, our majors are just tend to be really, really good that way. And so that fits lots of different possibilities. And so you can see here that major sort of categories of paths after history majors at Baylor include law, education, civil service, which means working for the government. I mean, in any way, State Department, Defense Department, it could mean local government. We have lots of alums that work in intelligence. So like for the FBI or CIA, nonprofits, publishing, museums, medicine, sales, I mean, all sorts of different things. So don't let anybody tell you that being a history major locks you into any particular career, because it really, the data tells us that it doesn't. Our chair often shares with us these little slides of our former students just to tell us sort of what they're doing. And so I just picked 4 that came out in the last year or so. And so here too, you can see, right, there's lots of different things that our alums are doing, from the assistant district attorney up in Brooklyn, right, to the archivist at the LBJ Presidential Library. And by the way, I know it says Jenna DeGraffenried. We don't know each other. That's random. It is DeGraffenried, who we have to be related, but I don't know. Okay, anyway, to a senior vice president, right, of an energy company out in West Texas, to someone who's working for the park system, right, and has his own business. And so there's lots of different things that are possible with a history major. We talk about these things with you in History Workshop. Again, that's that methods class that we ask all of our majors to take. We want you to understand what you're doing as a historian. We also want you to start thinking your second-ish year at Baylor about what kinds of options are open to you as a history major as far as a career goes. And so we work really closely with career services. We've built in a unit in that History Workshop course where we talk about CVs, and we talk about how you give sort of an elevator speech, right? A quick rundown to a possible employer about what your skills are as a history major, so that you have lots of options as you're leaving. All right, what is it that makes Baylor unique? 2 things. Well, okay, there's a lot of things actually, but 2 things in particular. So one, we have all of the scholarship, the books and the famous people and the articles and all that kind of stuff of a Research One faculty, combined with a love for teaching and a love for engaging with undergraduate students. And this is absolutely what sets Baylor apart from other huge R1 institutions. Okay, we really love our students. We really love to teach. We love working with undergraduates. The other thing that sets it apart, what sets it apart from most small liberal arts colleges, is Baylor's Christian identity, right? And a willingness to take religion seriously when engaging history. And so I think those are the things that make us unique. We would love for you to reach out to us. Here's the email for our website on the Baylor site. My contact information is listed here. You can always send me an email if you have questions. And I think I'm hitting my 15 minutes. And so we're going to open it up to questions. But I thought I would start. I'm going to end this. So if you can screenshot my email if you need it really quick. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm going to end this. And then I'm going to stop sharing. Stop share. Okay. And now we're back to us. And I'm going to start Hattie with a question.
Yes.
Ready? Okay, here we go. So Hattie, tell us your favorite thing about being a history major at Baylor.
Okay, well, there's a lot of things, but really it's the faculty. I am an English minor and I'm a world affairs minor. And I've just found, I mean, all the faculty at Baylor are helpful, but the history faculty are especially helpful. And they're there for you. Like if you need something, if you need help on an assignment, if you just want to come in and chat, they're always there. And also on that small class size, I will say it's really nice to be in a major that you do recognize people in your classes. So coming in first semester, I was, nervous as all college attendees are. And that second semester, I already had people that I'd already met in my first classes. So you're with a group of people that you're going to be with for your entire college experience. And you're going to meet people that become your friends in your history classes.
That's so great. Our average class size for once you're in the major is 19. So you can occasionally have a class that's bigger than that. Hattie's in a class with me right now, and we have 28, but that's because we have 2 faculty teaching it. And so we kind of double up, right? But normally for juniors and seniors, you're in a class of 19 or smaller. And we love that.
Yes.
Any questions? Hattie, what are you going to do after graduation?
So the plan is law school, but I'm actually, I was on a kind of accelerated plan. So I'm a senior, but this is only my third year at Baylor. So I'm going to take a year to work, preferably a law firm. So I've been applying to a bunch of places and internships and stuff. So hopefully I'm working somewhere that'll put me in that field and get me kind of prepared for what it would be like to actually work as a lawyer. And then I will be applying that fall for the next year.
Awesome. And that's pretty typical, about 20%, sometimes as high as 25% of our majors are interested in law school. And without a doubt, we hear this over and over and over and over again from law school faculty, that if you are a history major coming into law school, you already have a leg up on everybody else because you know how to write. And that is like enormously important if you're thinking about going to law school. Just heard it again yesterday. So
Dr. DeGraffenried, we have a question in the chat. How does incorporating faith into the classroom look like?
That's a great question. So I would say the most obvious way that that happens is the relationship that's built between faculty and students, right? I mean, so if it's not like I don't think you would necessarily see a sort of in your face, we're gonna treat this classroom like a church service kind of faith in the classroom. It's more like all of our faculty are inspired by their faith to pursue this excellence of the mind, right? To really like nurture this gift that God's given us, right? And that we're also animated by this sense of seeing every student as a child of God, I mean, made in the image of God. And so that means something important in terms of that relationship between faculty and students, right? I mean, it just does. It just does. That's a great question. Thanks.
I can add on that. There's also certain classes, like I took a Religion in America class last semester. So obviously we were focusing on religion in America, but looking at it from a historical viewpoint, it's just great to learn about like how everyone's experiences came to be. And you're not just focusing on, the Baptist experience, you're focusing on all different religions. So it's interesting to learn about it from a historical standpoint.
Awesome. Good.
Do we have students with any other questions for our panelists? Feel free to put it in the chat or the Q&A.
So one of the reasons, sorry, you guys can obviously type questions, but I'm just thinking of questions that that I might have had. Study abroad. One of the reasons that we love this for history students is that there's really nothing better than studying history in the place where it happened. And so, for example, this summer, Hattie and I are going to Baylor in Great Britain, and I'm offering a class on World War II. And so our class will learn a lot about World War II, but then we're going to focus on the British experience in World War II. So we're going to go to Dover Castle, where the evacuation at Dunkirk was planned. And we're going to see what the English Channel would have looked like when those little boats were heading across. And we're going to go to Bletchley Park, where they broke the codes that the Germans were using to save the island. And in fact, the place that we stay in London, we walk past the Victoria and Albert Museum literally every day on the way to the subway. And that museum has decided to leave the pockmarks from the Blitz, right, from the bombing, on the walls of the museum. And so every day that you walk past it, there's this reminder of what was, right, in the 1940s. And so, yeah, it's pretty great. So we're big fans.
We've got a question in the Q&A. What are the most common study abroad locations?
Yeah, that's a great question. We are, I think the Baylor in Great Britain program is actually the largest program. We take between 60 and 80 students every summer. Maastricht in the Netherlands is another really popular program for study abroad. because you're on the continent of Europe, and then you're able to travel throughout the entire continent of Europe. Let's see, other big ones. Baylor in Argentina is a pretty big program. If you're interested, you can do almost all of your Spanish, I mean, in a host home, which is really great. Other really big programs. Jess, do you know answers to this? I know those three are pretty big programs.
See, I think history is a very flexible major with study abroad. So a lot of the locations that we offer as study abroad are going to have some options for history majors or credits like English or other areas of study in that realm.
Somebody asked about music history, and that's fascinating that you asked that. So this fall, actually, that's not usually a focus for us, but this fall, it just so happens that there is a jazz pianist / musicologist joining the School of Music who is teaching a history class for us this fall on the history of Black music of the Americas that we are like over the moon about. So yeah, really excited. That doesn't happen too often, so I wouldn't say that's a common thing, but there are music history courses in the School of Music that you're able to sign up for.
Yeah, I can speak to that too. I took a theater history class that was in the theater department, and it was almost like a combination of an architecture, art history. It was called History of Western Decor. So it's kind of neat to go through the course catalog and see if you can find like history classes in other disciplines. So yeah, that's a good question.
Is a history major a good major to pursue if you're an athlete? I would say yes. I would say history is a great major to pursue if you love history. How's that? I mean, that's silly, but absolutely, absolutely. We want to help foster and nurture and develop your interest in history, because that's what we're all nerding out about, right? We're a whole department of people who just nerd out about history, and so if you're interested in that too, then we're a good fit for you.
Someone also asked, is the MA in teaching one of those programs where you start working on your master's the senior year of your bachelor's?
Yes, it exactly is. That's exactly what a 4+1 does. Great question. That one's tricky. I know I'm going to say something here. I have to be really careful about how I say this. So the 4+1s, the deal with 4+1 is that if you have financial aid from Baylor, it counts for the 4, but not usually the 1. Okay. And so I don't want to discourage you. Here's what I want to encourage you with. You look for programs where they have a plan for how to help you with that 1. Okay. So for example, if you qualified for scholarships from Baylor for the 4 years of your quote unquote undergrad, but you're in a 4+1 program, sometimes financial aid starts to go, oh, you're taking graduate classes now, we don't know what to do with you. But those are graduate programs that often have a plan for helping you fund that part of that 4+1. So just know that going in, so you're not surprised by it. I don't think any of us would be, it's not any of our interests for you to be blindsided by a 5th year where all of a sudden there's no money and you're like, what just happened? So for example, in the museum studies program, they have a plan laid out where they are finding a way to fund that extra year by having you do internships with local museums, right? And so just know that going in. Any other questions?
Dr. DeGraffenried, what is one of the favorite classes that you teach?
Ooh. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Am I allowed to hear this?
You're totally allowed to hear this because you've taken both of them, I think.
Oh.
Yes. Okay. So I'm a Russian history specialist. The 2 classes, and I love every class I teach. I should say that. I love every class I teach. Here are, I don't even have one answer. I have 3, but so really fast. So number 1, I teach a class on the Cold War with an American historian. So we come at the Cold War from 2 different directions. Hetty's in that class right now. I love that class because it's just a really interesting way to approach a class. And for the students, I hope it's successful in the sense that it's not the same person talking every day. So it kind of changes it up. And we get to do some really cool things in that class because there's 2 faculty and lots of students. I also love teaching a history of childhood class that, so I work on children's experiences in World War II in the Soviet Union. So one way of looking at history is to consider what kids are doing, because we don't often, like when we write history, we're usually writing about like people that are very powerful. And so that's not usually children. So it's a great way to get at history from a different angle. And I love, love, love teaching that class because it's just a completely different way of approaching history. And the students that take it are interested in that kind of a perspective, and they're so good. And it's super fun. The third class I love. I, for the past few years, have been teaching our freshman new student experience class. So we have it set up where when you take your very first history class at Baylor, if you're a history major, they'll plop you all in one section. So all of the history majors get to meet each other the first semester that you're there together. And I love teaching that class because the point is not just yay history, but yay each other and meeting community.
That's awesome. Well, that's a great way to wrap us up. We are about at the end of our time. So students, I'm going to give you a couple minutes to jump into your next session, but thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, Dr. DeGraffenried and Hattie, for speaking about your experiences in the history department. Students, if you would like to reach out with further questions, hopefully you got a screenshot of their information, and otherwise it is on the website. So feel free to reach out and connect with them more over these topics. So thank you everyone for being here today.
Bye.
Bye.